Friends, Romans, countrymen, boys and girls, kids of all ages, adults, the lost, the found, subscribers, old watchers, new watchers, people who got lost, clicked on the wrong video, or just generally meandered their way here. Welcome to State of the Sasquatch 2019. Thank you all for your kind attention, your patience, your rapt attention. Even as I speak right now, the President of the United States is giving forth his State of the Union address. And not to be outdone, because what could be more important than me, I am giving my own State of the Sasquatch address to let everyone know what's happening with me, both in the past year and in what I'm planning to do in the coming year. This is usually the planning session that I have that goes horribly awry about 2 weeks after I do this. But as things stand right now, we'll see what goes on. We'll see how this develops. We'll see, if you will, how I can mess this up as badly as I did last year. It'll be a hard one to top, but we'll see what we can do. So, as is my tradition, for those of you who've been here before, you're familiar with this. For those of you who have not, why are you still here? I'm not that interesting. You should find something else to do with your time. This is a common theme which will probably come up again at some point in the future, if you don't take the hint now and just run away. Like, really, why are you still here? Anyway, so I break my yearly goals, my yearly review down into 4 basic areas: faith, family, fitness, finance, and then I kind of do a little bit of an extra thing for the YouTubes and Mixer and things like that, which I am a part of. So, first things first. The last year, a review, I did a lot of really good things spiritually. I was able to go to a couple of ministers' conferences, which I would not have been able to go to otherwise had I not been involved with a very diverse group of people. I was asked to preach at multiple places, which was fantastic. Some of them I was actually able to do. Some of them got a little bit interesting. We were just not able to pull those off for a various host of reasons. I do a little bit regretful about that, but there's a limit to what I can and cannot do. I also had this grand plan to have a weekly message come out on my YouTube channel, and I did that for about 2 months, I think, maybe. Not 2. I did that for about 6 weeks. Yeah, I don't have an excuse for that. That just is how that went. I apologize. That should have gone much better and been a much more something I followed through on a lot more. I don't really have an excuse for that. But there is a plan, and I'll get to that at the end of this, for something of a similar vein, but perhaps in a more conducive and more likely to happen sort of context. Not to say that what I was doing was wrong. I'm just saying that I have some limitations to things that I really just honestly have time to do. And even more so now than when I made the last State of the Sasquatch address. I didn't do a whole lot on YouTube last year. Anyone who has subscribed to this channel, you probably figured that out for a host of reasons. But again, we'll get to that in a little bit later on. Last year, I was able to push through. Every year I have a goal in reading the Bible. Last year, my goal started out to be 5 times through, all the way through. And I was able to surpass that goal thanks to a little bit of readjustment of my daily schedule. So I was able to read it all the way through 7 times. I'm very happy about that. I'm not trying to say that as a braggadocious thing. I'm just saying that, hey, I have improved over last year. Last year, I didn't even get through it the 5 times that I was trying to get it through. And then this year, I was like, no, we got to really bear down and get this done. And it was good. I have a more substantial goal for this year. And I'm on track for it. My goal is to read the Bible through once every 30 days, or roughly there's abouts. There's a couple times where I know I'm not going to be able to get it in the full read, so I'm trying to get a little bit ahead on that as much as possible. But that is something that I am working very, very hard to do. And so far, like I said, I'm on track, and actually a little bit ahead, so it's good. Spiritually, my state is a little bit frustrated, and I'm going to get into that right about now. I was given an opportunity after the last ministers' conference I went to back in July to go and help start a new church, something which I've helped do to a certain extent before, back in 2016, or was it 2015? I think it was 2016. 2016, where I was able to go and help start a church, and help them as much as I could until they were closed for some, as I recall, a managerial dispute with the parent company that owns the property that we were using. Unfortunately, this one is going much better, I believe. It is actually being started by one of my Bible college instructors, and it's being done in the city. It's about an hour away from where I live, and I've been going out there at least 2 times a week since August to help them out in any way, shape, or form that I can. Usually that entails lifting heavy stuff, but praise the Lord, for He has given me a sufficient physique to be able to do that. Which is kind of the frustrating part that I am, because I'm at the frustrating place that I'm in right now, because that was officially assigned as a temporary placement, like a internship sort of thing. And personally, I would like to see that go on and do quite a bit more. I would not at all feel it to be inappropriate to try and make that my new full-time church home for at least a year or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or more, and see just where it goes on from there. I do have a consistent overarching goal to eventually end up as a minister overseas, but we are not currently there yet. So being in Southline and helping them establish a work seems to me as though it would be a very good thing. However, that has to be done within the confines of present spiritual authority, and that is not necessarily the mindset held by all. So I am working, and I appreciate any sort of prayers that people might be able to, send my way in that regard to, open up some standing thought processes. Which is kind of like I said, that's my goal right now. I don't necessarily know if that's what I'm going to be doing, but I would not consider that to be a unadvantageous or an unpleasant outcome in any way, shape, or form. When that kind of wraps up Faith, pretty nice, in a nice little nutshell. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter one. I'm trying to cut down on my total time speaking in general. You'll have to tell me how that goes. I got a lot of stuff to get through here. We're going to have to run. So next up is family. I am still totally, completely, ridiculously, painfully, hurtfully, annoyingly, unendingly, eternally, I hope not the last one, unattached. I have not found anyone, so we're just going to kind of pass that one over to a certain extent. I do have some people out there who have expressed interest. It's the really hard thing. We're like, okay, someone expresses interest, and I'm sorry to tell them that I don't have a similar interest in them. It's just how it is. So I'm kind of to blame here. If I was less picky, maybe, but as things stand right now, I am currently and have all intention and likely outcomes to remain as such. So yeah, that's a lovely thing. So all the other family trappings and stuff don't really apply. There we go. Beautiful. In terms of fitness, something I've talked about before, I do work out as to the best of my ability. Don't always make it, but I work out about 6 times a week, Monday through Saturday. As such, I am in very good overall condition. My shape is not necessarily the best, but my condition's pretty good. At least it was good enough to beat Sir Osmond in a push-up contest on New Year's Eve, which was fantastic and wonderful and glorious and beautiful. And I am not trying to lord that over him, but I am doing a very good job of it every time I talk to him, which is fun for me. In fact, he has challenged me to another one next year on supposedly next New Year's Eve. So I'm going to be working a lot harder to try and at least keep that conditioning up and maybe surpass it a little bit. Shape would be nice, but I'm not totally caught on that because there's a limit to just what I'll be able to maintain in the long term. Yeah, you can do all the crazy stuff and you can make yourself, the Greek Adonis of all things. But if you actually want to maintain that, it requires a lot more effort than I'm really willing to put into that effort. So yeah, let's just say that it's probably just going to be conditioning, making sure I'm still strong, I can still stand up, sit down, be straight, that kind of thing. And that'll be the long and short of that one. Finances generally, I think this goes not just for me, but for a great number of other people. I need more money. And that's not a request to get money. I know that there are donation links and stuff around there. I really don't like asking for money, and I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say that I need more money, and I have plans to get it from other sources, not you people. So I have those links out there because other people told me I had to put them out there. They're not in this video. They're not linked anywhere they're not properly linked anywhere because I don't actually do upkeep on my channel or anything else like that. So buyer beware, caveat emptor, buyer beware. The link that you click on, the like, hey, let's give me some money, that may not actually work. Very likely, in fact, because they have not been updated in a long time. So I need more money. I have plans to get more money. Here's some of the plans. Number one, first of all, I have been working now for almost 2 years. It will be coming up on 2 years very, very soon, at a law firm as their shipping manager. I am probably going to be leaving that before the end of this year. I've not discussed that with anyone who works at that law firm, except for like in passing and technically at my interview, my initial interview for everything there. But that was certainly not something that they were really expecting. They're like, okay, well, can you work here for 2 years? I'm like, yeah, I can work here for 2 years. And 2 years is coming up close. And my thought was, well, at 2 years, I'm just going to exit. I may not be exiting like directly at the 2 year mark, but I'm looking to get out certainly before I hit 3 years. Because it has been a helpful stopping point. It's a resting area, but it is certainly not a long-term employment solution. It just does not provide enough income for supporting, the family whole port. That's really number one of the, there's a consistent joke that I've been making about the family thing, that the number one reason I have not, pursued a young lady or tried to, get married or anything else like that is because I've not yet found a young lady who I sufficiently dislike to want to, stick her with me for the rest of her life, which is partially true. But the other part of it is I just don't really see myself as a financially viable. I don't see myself being financially viable enough to support a family, do anything else like that. And I know that you have dual incomes. Well, if you read certain passages according to the faith portion of everything in the Bible, you may have a different perspective on that, like I do, and that may be something that will be that will be something that I'll be discussing a little bit here in just a couple moments. For those of you who are particularly interested in the YouTube and portion of this little talk. That being said, one of the things I'm looking into in terms of earning money otherwise is, of course, voice acting. I have been talking about this for a number of years and have not really put any sort of definable progress on the board, but I am about to be changing that in the very near future. I have found a site which, in addition to a professional voice acting talent agency kind of thing, that I've been trying to, not even surreptitiously, I've been trying to get them to listen to my stuff for a long time, and I'm going to be continuing to do that. But I found a website which allows me to gain access to voice acting jobs. Most of them are unpaid, but it's a lot of experience, which would be very, very helpful. So I would assume, or so I hope. And if I can build up enough of a repertoire with that, and I can present that to the agency itself and be like, hey, I'm not just, working hard and, trying to improve myself. I'm not just, someone who thinks he may have a decent sounding voice, but like, hey, here's some other people who have used my stuff before. They can make a much more compelling argument to be like, hey, maybe you should help me find paying jobs. That would be a wonderful thing. Don't you all agree? I certainly do. But that is going to be a bit of a process, at least probably 6 months before anything starts paying anything at all about that ever. Yeah. But it's a work in progress. It's something which I can look at definitively and say, I can make progress in this area by doing X. And if I keep doing X, I can get progress. And so I'm going to keep doing that, and I'm going to hope that pans out. Also trying to preach more anywhere I can, anywhere that'll have me. And we'll just kind of see how that goes. I'm not really looking at that right now as a viable financial source, because I'm just starting out, and people have not been. I mean, not to say there's anything, not to blame people. Oh, they're able to pay money. No. I totally get it. I'm not an experienced face. Most people are really taking a risk by saying, okay, here's a microphone, talk to my people. That's a risk that they have to take upon themselves, and I have no qualms about them being like, well, why don't you just do it and we'll see how it goes, sort of thing. I don't have a problem with that. I'm not going to blame somebody because I'm trying to do the work of the Lord, and whether I'm trying to do that or not, or when I'm trying to do that, it's not about money. It's about trying to do the work of the Lord, and if money's attached later on, that's great, but right now I'm just trying to say what the things that I'm supposed to be saying in that regard. That's kind of it for finances. In terms of channel things, I'm really just running through this real quick, which I think is probably the best way to do this, rather than going some long, drawn-out explanation of how I'm feeling about things. Last year, I had this grand plan to, preach a message every Sunday. Did not last at all. Like I said, about 6 weeks. So, yeah, I'm not doing that this year. But I do have a plan in place to do something of that variety. And I'm going to try and do it every week, but it's not going to be starting immediately. I have to get a couple things together. I have a lengthy, and it is getting lengthier, discussion for specifically aimed at young men on how to basically be single properly and how to prepare themselves for marriage. Again, I'm not married, so I'm still learning a lot about this. So it's getting, longer and longer and longer, and I have more and more content that I can pour into it. And so I figure I'm going to try and do like 20-minute episodes in an episodic content fashion and just see how long that takes me to get through it. As of sitting here right now, at least 10 to 15 episodes, I'm assuming, because it gets longer every time I try and do something on it, which is not a bad thing. And I've had some interest expressed to me, not just in the digital sphere, but in the real life in the real world spectrum of people who've been like, hey, I want to hear what you have to say on this. And so if people are looking for a place to hear it, I'm going to provide it for them on the platform that I have to do so. I don't particularly have any other major YouTube plans at the moment. I'm still floating the idea around in my head, if I can ever find time to do it, to do a Pixelmon playthrough. I have a version, I have a world download, I have all the kind of stuff. And it's legal again to do it, so that's a wonderful thing. But really putting forth the effort, the time, the inclination to do that is not necessarily first and foremost on my mind. We'll see what happens in the future. In addition to that, I have been streaming-ish, sometimes, kind of, on Mixer. For those of you who are Mixer fam, thanks for stopping by here. For those of you who are not Mixer related, there's this thing called Mixer. It's a wonderful streaming platform. It's better than Twitch, in my opinion. And I've been streaming over there for about 2 years now. Welcome to the party. I have not necessarily been streaming a whole lot as of late. Maybe once a week, and sometimes, most times, not even that. I've just kind of gotten into the place the last maybe couple months where it's easier for me to not stream. There are times where okay, I want to play a video game, and I could stream it, but if I'm going to stream it, I have to set up all the programs and set up not that I've been streaming on camera because I'm not doing a face reveal until I get 1,000 followers, which, hey, if I don't stream, I can't get 1,000 followers. Woohoo! My face remains a mystery forever. But there's a fine line there where it's like, okay, I want to stream. I want to interact with people in that regard. I want to play video games just in general. I don't really have time to play video games at all, but I'm still trying to do it. And so in those few moments where I can, steal away to do it, sometimes I'm just not really in the mind frame to be on a in a public forum where anybody can just kind of drop in and be like, what you doing, man? And again, nothing wrong with that. It's just sometimes I just need to relax and not be around people. you may not realize this. I may not have been very good at communicating this at any point, but I'm a very introverted person. And sometimes I just need to be all by myself. And doing stuff like this is not necessarily conducive to refreshing and restoring my weary mind, which is becoming more and more weary with every passing day. Like I said, there's just a lot of stuff going on, and there's no clear, simple, or necessarily personally preferential outcomes for a lot of it. I'm trying to make things work, and some things are. Like, I just bought a new car over the weekend. It was fantastic. I am very, very happy with that vehicle, and I'm very happy to be rid of my old vehicle. Just a wonderful transaction that was. But sometimes I just need to stop all the craziness and just turn my brain off for an hour or so and play a video game and not have to worry about anybody else being like, hey, why aren't you using this loadout? And like, well, because I don't. But yeah, so that's been good. And I'm planning, I always have plans to do more, but I am coming very quickly to the understanding that until such time comes where I will be able to leave the wonderful, comforting confines of the 9-to-5 work environment, it's probably not going to be any kind of consistent basis where I'll be able to make either full-fledged YouTube content or stream in any capacity of full and or part-time. It's just sometimes when I feel like it, maybe, because generally I don't. Yeah, that sums it up pretty well. And I've done a couple of collaborations. Like I said, I did a push-up contest with Osmond over New Year's, beat him handily. I did a collab, I forget when. What was that? 4 months ago, with a guy named Mumbles of a Nerd, formerly LuckyShot 13 of the Comrades SMP. May it live forever in our memories. And we ate some toxic gummy bears, and he's just contacted me recently and wants to do that again. I don't know why. He's a sadistic and masochistic, just horrible human being, but you know what? It was fun while we were doing it. Afterwards, not so much. But we are crazy, so it's a thing. And we also there's one video of the 3 that we did of the Fan, the Fanatic, and the Fortunate, which was a rewatching and then a lengthy commentary on the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, which was a lot of fun, and I was really enjoying it. And then the guy, the fan of the Fan, the Fanatic, and the Fortunate, I was dubbed the Fanatic for some reason, I'm not sure why, but the fan portion of the Fan, the Fanatic, and the Fortunate has also encountered a much busier schedule than he initially had, and is taking a extended, as yet undetermined leave of absence from that production. So it is unlikely to be continuing at this point or anytime in the near future. Some friends of mine, the other members of the Fan, or of the Triple F podcast, I guess, may be continuing to watch those, but the commentaries will probably stop just because they're better done, I think, in a group. Particularly because that's how they started, and it shouldn't be just like, oh, I'm just going to take over the whole thing and run it by myself now. Screw you guys. That just doesn't seem right to me. So, but aside from that, things will be continuing. There's been a lot of kicking back and forth sort of ideas. I'm still part of the Sacred Gaming Alliance on Mixer, though with as little as I stream anymore. I'm not sure why. I'm really glad they don't have a minimum streaming requirement, because I'm pretty sure they'd kick me out like months ago or years ago. By default, years ago. Because I just have not been streaming all that much. But great group of people, and I thoroughly support all of them as much as I can when I can, because I just am never around for anything at all anymore, ever. Yeah, that's just my general state of life. I'm doing everything. I'm trying to live the life, and everything that's required to live the life is keeping me from living the life. So that's just how it goes, I think, generally. It's a astute observation. But there will be some things going on this year. They're going to be restarting their SGA server, which I am fully on board with because it might get me back into Minecraft for at least a little while. I have a couple of plans already for something I'd like to do. Whether or not that will actually come to fruition, I don't know yet. And don't tell them whether it will or not, because they're just going to get big expectations and then get mad at me when I don't do it again. Probably how I just realized that people who are part of the SGA administrative and overseeing staff watch these sometimes. Probably not to this point, though, so I'm probably safe. They're not actually going to watch this far. They'll never know. Just you and me, dear friend, the one of you who's still watching this lovely, rambling, never-ending discourse. But it will be ending actually right about now, in fact, because I've run out of notes to speak on. So overall, in terms of spirituality, faith, what I believe in, I'm doing really well in that. There are some things I want to see grow further. There's some things I'm really, really pushing to try and get to grow further. I would love to start helping this other church in a much more full-time capacity, because if they really, really need me over there. There is the pastor, his wife, and his 2 daughters that are like able to do most of the stuff that I can do. Like, I'm not the sound guy, but I can do a lot of other things, and they don't really have anyone else who's consistently there who could do that. My church I've been going to for the last 28 years, yeah, everything I do there is already done by 4 other people, usually in some capacity better than I can do it. So there's not that much of a need for me there. So I'm wanting to go where I'm needed, not necessarily where I'm wanted. Maybe I should figure out a way to rephrase that, but I'm too lazy to figure that out right now. Again, family, totally unattached, not necessarily looking, but I am being looked for by a couple of folks who I am both aware of and have been told that they are, like, personally aware of. And then, like, there's a delineating line here. There are some people who, like, I know, and I'm like, no. I said no, sort of thing. And then some other people who I am aware of on the fringes who are interested. I just really am not in the place right now financially to really do that. At least in my mind, my understanding, my reading of scripture. Because again, everything that I do is I try to do within the context of scripture, because I think that's the right way to do it. And with that, financially, I have some plans to try and alter my income or add to it or do something so that it is not where it is right now. But as things stand right now, I don't really have a firm grasp on what that's going to look like in the near future. But I do have great intention to just not be doing what I'm doing right now for any longer than I absolutely have to, because I think there's a lot of better stuff that I could be doing. And I'd really prefer to do that rather than what I am. Not that there's anything wrong with being a shipping manager at a law firm, but there does come a very, very, very near point where there's just no more benefit or place you can go with that. It's very, very limited. So with that in mind, I want to go someplace where I can where I can grow, as it were, or be more than I am right now. So with that in mind, thank you all for listening, for watching, for tuning in, for continuing to support this nearly dead channel. I am attempting to make it work in some capacity. Those who are part of the Discord, this will be up there. Maybe that's where you found the link for this. Thank you for being a part of that also mostly dead Discord channel. And like I said, there are things that I'm working on to make life better. There are things I'm working on to make my content more plentiful. There are things I'm working on to make my content better. There are things I'm doing to try and just make my life in general a more pleasant existence to live. A lot of those things right now are just not prepared to happen. But in the coming year, I have at least 3 ideas for every single one of them to try and make it better. I've only discussed, for the most part, the first one in the hope that that works out and I don't have to correct myself next year. But in that case, tune in again in about 12 months and see how I did. That's kind of what these are for. Not only to tell you what I'm going to do this year, but also to tell you everything that I messed up on last year, which is always an interesting experience for me to go back and listen to the one I did from last year and go, wow, that is not at all what I did last year. What was I thinking when I said all that stuff? And I don't try to be inconsistent. It's just how it works. So anyway, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you all next time, whenever that is. Goodbye.